Well, you may know him from Real Housewives of New Jersey, but did you know that cast member Jim Marchese is also scoring millions of dollars in two separate whistleblower cases? One worth more than $8 million over alleged shoddy mortgages at Bank of America. The other for a $1.6 million settlement in a case accusing a pharmaceutical firm that he worked at of Medicare fraud. And while the Justice Department wants to up rewards for whistleblowers, are we just incentivizing Americans to become a nation of snitches? Steve, what do you think?
Well, absolutely, David. When you have rewards like that, you're going to have 999 people going on trying to win the lottery by going on this fishing expedition, and a lot of waste. If there's wrongdoing, there are plenty of laws to deal with it. All this does is encourage a lot of snitching. And in the case of Bank of America, they didn't do anything wrong. They bought a company during the crisis at the behest of the government that did wrong things, and then they got shaken down by the politicians. So leave well enough alone.
Mike, incentives do matter in these cases. And you look at the number of whistleblower lawsuits, the cases have been going up dramatically over the past several years.
David, I'm going to snitch for no money right now. Steve had a donut before we came out on the set. No, but seriously, yeah, incentives work. Obviously, the people paying these huge incentives think that it's going to save more money going forward. Look, I'm not going to say that some of these payouts don't seem outlandish. They do. But in general, yes, I'm on the side. Incentives work. They help solve some of these cases and put some of these people where they belong, out of behind bars.
Okay, but Mark, the fact is you see all these million-dollar payouts for whistleblowers, and we can put up the amount of money. It really topped out in 2011 there. That's the highest bar. That was a time when all of the so-called predatory lending payouts took place. But then it stayed pretty high. Shouldn't people be whistleblowers just for the truth's sake?
Well, I think so, David. I don't understand why we have to pay people to do the right thing. I mean, there's a problem in our society that everybody expects to be paid for everything, including just doing what you should be doing either as a citizen or as a good employee. Why pay people to do this? Shouldn't people just say what they feel is going wrong and tell the right people?
I think he makes a good point, Emac. I don't know about you, but by the way, one of these cases, the bank case, 3 other whistleblowers got $50 million each.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And it's a shame. You know, we have a whole auditing and accounting profession. Those are paid so-called whistleblowers. That's money spent on those guys, hundreds of millions of dollars there. I am for whistleblowers. They caught problems at Enron, Halliburton, even in the U.S. government. They are retaliated against. They often lose their jobs. They're iced out. They lead wretched lives. And one, taxpayer whistleblower watchdog group said only 8 out of 10 actually walk away with any money.
Well, it's true, but Sabrina, to tell you the truth, if I got $50 million, I'm not sure I'd come to work tomorrow. I mean, so you don't have to have another job if you're paid that much money.
Well, that's one of the things that caught my attention, David. I was reading up on some of these stories, and one of the things that comes clear, and this is why I'm sort of on the fence on this, on one hand, I'm with Steve that we want to make sure that the government isn't asking its citizens to do its dirty work and sort of where there is no problem, right? And on the other hand, a lot of these cases don't happen overnight, right? It takes years before these are settled, and in the meantime, someone can really face all sorts of hardship, financial, personal. So I do think we need to have some kind of incentive to make sure that people want to come forward, but I am a little bit on the fence here.
Well, John Tamny, there are two groups being incentivized, one, the whistleblowers, and 2, the government, because the government gets huge payoffs in all this. The one where the guy from the Housewives got $8.5 million for being the whistleblower, the government got $16 billion in settlements from banks for that.
I don't like this at all. The idea of the feds taking resources from us and then using them to pay us to inform on others is wrong in its face. Secondly, the problem, as Steve pointed out, is that the government was involved in mortgages and banking in the first place. What they did to B of A was hideous. It should never have happened. This is such a dangerous path we're on that people can enrich themselves by working with the federal government against citizens.
And, Mike, I'm not saying that all these whistleblowers are liars, that they're just doing it for the money. But on the other hand, you don't know because the incentives are so strong for people to snitch that maybe they'll bend the truth a little to say what the government wants to say.
No, I can't argue with that. You're absolutely right. And this specific case that John just pointed out, he's absolutely correct. You know, we're trying to make a blanket statement for all of this. I just think in some cases, for the reasons that EMAC cited, you do have to incentivize people to, you know, point out who's doing stuff really wrong. Yeah,
but Steve, again, the tendency of government to get, you know, sometimes snitches to bend the truth to make the government's case so they get the $1 billion and the whistleblowers get the $1 million. Too many bad incentives here.
Right. Yes, especially the industries that are regulated by the government, like banks, where the banks know they can be put out of business or severely harmed if they don't go along with these settlements. So they've become ATMs for the federal government. And there are civil procedures that you can take if you feel that you've been done a wrong.
There are alternatives. Thank you, gang. The Cash and In